Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining today. This is Sam Hurd, President and owner of Data Integrity Services, consulting firm here in Central Florida with some clients all across the United States. Very quickly, just a few slides about us before I turn this over to my good friends at ArcServe. We were founded in 1997, and as noted, we are blessed to have clients all across the United States. We're your typical managed services provider with a focus on security as a service. Love to play in the disaster recovery, business continuity vertical, cloud backup. We find that to be the last line of defense against the bad guys, and hence the relationship with ArcServe. Sophos Platinum Partner, we're very proud of that fact. Synchronized security partner with Sophos, and not 2 times, but 3 times Partner of the Year, Yahoo. So 12 employees, bunch of engineers, over 60 to 70 Sophos certifications, and of course, all your typical Microsoft and whatnot certifications augmenting that. Like I said, we won Part of the Year 14, 17, and 19. Very proud of that fact. That shows the commitment to security in general across the board for us. We believe that Sophos is probably the best all-around fit for a SMB or enterprise size client. Customer list all across Central Florida and United States even. Some of the major ones, universities, colleges, a lot of dioceses, of course, huge pediatric groups, some municipalities, as you can see on our screen there. Very proud of the fact, and thank you for all the folks that are on the call from the diocese world. We've got a great relationship with those folks across the United States. Awesome bunch of people to work with, including schools, various Catholic schools, high schools, and colleges across the United States. So with that being said, we've struggled, if you will, looking for a cloud backup solution that takes care of our Office 365 clients. As you know, everybody is going to Office 365. How do you back that up? And a major part of that we've struggled with is litigation on hold, the archiving part of Office 365 backup. The 365 backup from Microsoft, they will tell you 3 months basically is what they will guarantee any kind of backup or restoration, if you will, restoring. So how do you deal with litigation on hold, archiving, all that kind of fun stuff? And of course, cloud backup services. How do you support that? We struggled with that, looking for a technology or a partner, if you will, that we could refer to based upon my standards to our clients. That's where we fell into a great relationship with ArcServe. And right there at the very beginning of this slide, it says ransomware free future with ArcServe and Sophos. I'm not going to steal their thunder, but basically ArcServe has acquired the technology from Sophos, or OEM'd it, if you will, onto their platform. So Sophos is CryptoGuard, which blocks and stops and catches ransomware, which I can testify to because we have clients that will tell you that Sophos stopped a ransomware attack. ArcServe now utilizes or uses that technology on their platform, which is great. Think about it. You know, their backup platform is utilizing Sophos the best on the market. So I'm really happy about that, and that kind of led us to the relationship that we have now with ArcServe. And we looked and kicked the tires and drove the car, and now we basically bought it. We are now recommending it as an Office 365 backup solution to all of our clients. And the fact that, of course, it takes care of your archiving and litigation on hold is even better. And probably the best part of it, pricing. The pricing is extremely palatable, which is very important to our clients. So with that all being said, rapid fire in 5 minutes, I am going to turn this presentation over to John and Stacy and my good friends at ArcServe, and allow them to take over everything and present to you guys, okay? Stacy, it's all yours now, Stacy.
Thank you so much, Sam, and the Data Integrity team. So as indicated by Sam, we have a few folks from ArcServe here, myself, John Benjamin. I'm the relationship manager with data integrity from ArcServe. We have Stacy Budd, our principal consultant, a veteran of our technology. We also have Mark Johnson, the director of our pre-sales organization worldwide and probably nationwide. And then we also have Alex Ivanov, who's one of our territory account managers and been with the solution for well over 15 years. So as our agenda looks out today, we're going to cover a couple of different things to tie together what Sam has already articulated. We're going to give an overview of the prevalence of Office 365 in the marketplace from a digital economy perspective. We'll go into an overview of the Office 365 marketplace and how to back up that data, talk about some of the assumptions versus reality, how to protect Office 365 from a backup perspective, also from an email archiving to get a little deeper and wider there. And then Alex Ivanov will take us into a Q&A. So please drop your questions into the Q&A within the GoToMeeting webinar, and we'll try to articulate as many answers as we can along the way or at the end of our conversation. So as you look at the marketplace today, enabling, as we said, the digital economy with Office 365, Microsoft has done a great job of really moving this solution to be the top business application in the marketplace today. So, it happens to have, a significant play because of the productivity capabilities of enabling collaboration and communications throughout organizations. There are approximately 350 million Office 365 seats in play. Or another way of looking at it, about 56% of businesses today use Office 365. The challenge and the struggle and what's really brought data integrity and ArcServe together is that if you look at this number, 92% of companies don't have Office 365 backup beyond the period of time that Sam already articulated, and that's a problem. And beyond that, we'll talk about the value of email archiving and the benefits of having those in tandem, one or the other. So let's talk about some assumptions versus a reality. And I'll ask Stacy to jump in here with me as we do some of this assumption. So the first assumption and the first scenario is that you need to access OneDrive and SharePoint online files from a project that took place several years ago. So the assumption is Microsoft backs up Office 365 items for a long period of time and retains them. So that's the assumption. So Stacy, what is the reality in this matter?
Thanks, John. The reality is that Office 365, items are retained for only 90 days in the recycle bin, right? But even then, that recycle bin can be emptied at any time, right? Making that data completely unrecoverable. And even when data is retrievable, okay, point-in-time recovery is out of the scope for Microsoft, leaving you with no other choice than to restore all your changes, right, made to the account, and all or nothing kind of approach. Further retention policies vary for each application in the cloud platform, making the process of recovering deleted items, well, quite frankly, cumbersome, right? As a result of making this assumption, right, hundreds of man hours and money can be potentially lost searching for unrecoverable documents.
All right. Thank you, Stacy. So let's look at the next assumption, scenario number 2. So you fall victim to an email phishing scam, with all the training and all the things you've done. Still, it happens, right? So the assumption is, all right, now I'll go to Office 365 and those applications are safeguarded from any external cyber threats. Stacy, what's the truth versus reality here?
Well, again, we have that assumption that you're safeguarded, right, from external cyber threats. But in reality, controlling Office 365 data is your responsibility or the customer's responsibility, including protecting Exchange Online email from ransomware, malware, and hackers. Without a third-party data protection solution in place, you won't have the ability to access a separate copy of your data should an employee act on an email they shouldn't, right? It happens all the time. Somebody clicks on a link that they've been trained very well not to do, but it looks valid. They click on it, and unfortunately, now we need to pull that back. External security attacks and data breaches can wreak havoc on an organization, causing crushing financial impacts, as well as reputation, right? To the bottom line, irreparable damage to brand reputation. And further, you may be held accountable for expensive fines relative to regulatory compliance and data privacy in internal and external customer data is affected.
Okay. Let's take it one more time. Let's take another scenario before we transition to the content, Stacy. So let's look at assumption 3, scenario 3. So, a former employee, maybe of the diocese, unexpectedly takes legal action against the organization, right? So you feel, all right, you've been diligent, you've had your Office 365 subscription, and has built-in litigation on hold. So what's the reality here, Stacy?
Right, and this is going to be, when we talk about, from litigation hold and all of that, we're going to have Mark speak to this in a few minutes. But, many organizations are motivated to delete old users to avoid financial burden of paying licensing fees, right? It's just a reality. We try to bring down, what we're paying, right? What we're subscribing to, right? This can present challenges when legal disputes arise, right? Because you've deleted that user means their personal litigation, SharePoint site, OneDrive account is gone for good, right? So all that information is gone. While litigation hold is a safeguard put in place by Microsoft to reduce the risk of losing data, it can't take the place of a third-party data protection to address compliance requirements and regulations. Right? Legal action can be crippling when you account for legal fees or the consequences of fines you may face if you're unable to provide necessary information. You never know when you'll need to produce emails or other documentation, so staying prepared is the only way to keep your organization out of jeopardy. Right? When we look at that, you got to make sure that you're prepared for that.
Right. And so it's not really one size fits all then, right, Stacey?
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And with ArcServe, when we take a look at, we're going to take a look at, how to make, that a reality, right? That data protection of your Office 365 a reality. We're going to focus on, of course, the Exchange side of things. We will speak a little bit to, the OneDrive and the SharePoint protection, which we do as well. I don't think we'll go into depth today on that, but just when we go through this, just be aware I'm going to be speaking a little bit to that too. With ArcServe, protecting Office 365 data can be a reality, right? We're able to introduce our Unified Data Protection 7.0 product, which it offers backup and granular recovery for Microsoft Office 365. And again, it includes not only Exchange Online, but also SharePoint Online, OneDrive for Business. Those are the top 3 services that Microsoft offers for Office 365, right? And allowing for flexible storage and support leveraging data deduplication, compression, while maintaining a high level of security with with encryption, AES 256 encryption. So making sure that data is not only protected, but it's and protected in a way that's going to hit compliancy and be secured as far as that goes as well. When we look at Office 365 and again the reality of helping organizations protect that 365 data, we can help you gain control and eliminate data loss in Exchange Online, SharePoint Online, OneDrive for Business with ArcServe UDP, right? Eliminate Office 365 security gaps, right? Allowing you to go and control and help you preserve business operations with the most complete set of capabilities available for Office 365, right? Allowing you to protect your company's key communication tool, right? I think most people would agree that Exchange or email is what the most key communication tool nowadays, right? So with our robust Office 365 email backup and point-in-time granular recovery, so you always have a separate copy of your data available, right? Back up your entire Exchange Online system or select mailboxes. I'm going to show you that here. We're about to flip over and I'm going to actually show you my backup environment, so we can take a look at that as well. You can copy your backups to all different types of media, to disk, to cloud, and even tape is still supported out there as well. And when we look at, cloud destinations, not only our own cloud, but, public cloud like Amazon or Azure, as far as that goes as well. And then let's not forget, our support for OneDrive, being able to safeguard your critical information that's out there in OneDrive and being stored in OneDrive. Also SharePoint as well, right? Being able to, SharePoint allows for that global collaboration, right? So being able to make sure that you can pull data back from there as well and be able to do that too. So we're not only speaking to our capabilities with Office 365 Exchange Online, but we're also speaking to, our capabilities of those other platforms too. So let me go hop over. I'm going to show you my backup environment here. This is my UDP environment. It is a browser-based tool. I'm not going to go through a full-fledged demo of our UDP solution today, but what I do want to show you is we have a big focus on ease of use when it comes to UDP, right? So being that it's a browser-based tool, it's the same exact interface whether or not you're on our online, or I should say our local kind of interface, or if you're in our cloud interface. It's going to look exactly the same from that standpoint for you as well, so you don't have that big learning curve. We also are going to try to keep you in the same area as much as possible. So when we log in, we see a dashboard shows you the state of our backups, the state of our storage, and we're going to leverage some features like deduplication, compression, and all of that as well. The resource tab is really where we try to keep customers. You'll see in my demo environment, we have some machines that aren't protected by plans. We have some machines that are turned off, right, as far as that goes. And when we look at Office 365, I have my Exchange Online nodes here, so I'm already protecting Exchange Online. I could right click on this system and I could go into a restore and perform a restore in there as well. And if I was going and protecting, SharePoint or OneDrive, I would have those listed out here as well from that. When we're looking at our plans and our backup plans, if I were to go into that plan, it would be as simple as going in and selecting the type of plan that I want to do, a OneDrive, Office 365 plan, or a SharePoint plan, or even the Exchange Online plan, right? We're always going to define a proxy. That's where Office 365, where Microsoft's going to provide that snapshot too that we're going to work with. And I should state that we're going to work off of an infinite incremental. This means after we initiate the initial backup, right, it'll only be incremental changes that we're grabbing after that point in time. So we're going to go ahead and select sources to protect. I've already got mine added here, so we're going to go ahead and just connect to it, and it's going to tell me, hey, you're already protecting this, and we're well aware of that. So I just went ahead and selected yes there as far as that goes. Now we can have the option of protecting everything, or we can go through and we can protect individual mailboxes if we want to go and have different policies for different mailboxes or different things like that as well. So in my case, we are already protecting a user here. This is Mark Johnson's mailbox out there in this demo environment. Then we're going to choose our destination, and let me go back real quick. We can also within that user, right? We also can go through and select, specific mailboxes that we want to protect, or everything as far as that goes as well. So we have granularity within that selection as well. Now we're going to back up to a data store. Our data stores have encryption, compression, deduplication rules already applied to them, and this would be the disk destination that we're backing up to. Now this disk, if I was backing up to the cloud, this data store would be my cloud data store that I have out there, right? If I wanted to then move this over to tape, maybe I was doing an on-prem backup, so I'm coming from Microsoft's environment to on-prem, and then I want to move it over to tape for long-time archival or something like that, or retention. I could do that as well. We could then add an additional task, which would be to copy that over to tape there as well. When we look at our schedule, everything you expect to see in a backup schedule: daily, weekly, monthly, backup throughout the days if you wanted to be able to do that. And if we do want to put in a full backup, we absolutely could do that. I make it kind of one of my missions to educate customers on infinite incrementals and not being able, not having to do full backups, right? Because we're always going to test that chain of backup when we have idle CPU time. Now, lastly, just under the advanced options here, this is just going to be email notifications, putting in scripts we will run before and after. So fairly straightforward as far as that goes. And then we can go in and start adding on those additional tasks. One could be copy to tape. We could replicate this to another location if I wanted to do that. All different kind of options here. So creating that backup plan, I hope I showed you it was only about 4 different screens that we went through, right? What do we want to protect? What do we want to protect? What do we want to protect it to? When do we want to protect it? And then lastly, email notifications, those kind of things. That's really what we focus on. When we go back to that restore, again, all I need to do is choose that mailbox or that backup, go ahead and select restore, and it's going to launch my restore interface, which gives me the ability to drill down into those backups and restore to the original or the alternate location, giving you that capability of, you know, being able to have that granular restore. Now, so it would be original mailbox, or what I could do is I could go through and say, you know what, let's go to maybe I have a restore mailbox created out there or something like that, so I restore to a different mailbox, and I'm gonna have granular restore within there as well. So I could go into Mark's particular mailbox. I'm only backing up his, but I would be able to choose the user that I wanted to go into, and then I could go into his inbox and choose specific emails if I want to do that too, right? And be able to restore individual emails out of there too. We're not gonna, I never show an actual restore, but that is the process as far as that goes. So we would go through, choose next, and then choose, you know, that restore destination, the original or the alternate location, and credentials in order to be able to connect to that. So that's going to end my demo for today, but what I'm going to do now is let's go ahead and take a look at, you know, we'll hand it over to Mark. I'm going to advance the slides for him here, but we're going to take a look at the next side of, you know, Office 365 protection, which is going to be email archiving, which is, you know, your litigation on hold and all of that as well. So.
Hey, Stacy, can you hear me?
I can.
Great. I think you turned the slides off, though.
Just share the slide there.
Yeah.
Are we sharing Mark's screen or Stacy's?
Stacy.
Stacy's right now.
Yeah, you can continue to share mine.
Yep.
All right, team. Okay, back to Stacy.
Here we go.
There we go. Okay, so thanks for that, Stacy. So, you know, what Stacy showed you is a way to protect the email environment, being able to restore entire mailboxes, single messages, basically protecting not only Office 365, but, you know, on-prem Exchange as well from, you know, any kind of catastrophic, either being compromised or losing emails, whatever. Because just because it's in the cloud, just because it's in Microsoft, doesn't mean that it doesn't need to be backed up, right? So, but let's take email protection one step further and talk about email archiving. So if you look here, UDP email archiving is a records management, regulatory compliance, and legal readiness solution designed to protect email. Okay, so we're going to take email protection one step further, and we're going to treat email messages basically as corporate records. And you know, what does that mean? That means we're going to wrap some information around it, make them not only searchable, but recoverable, and being able to put them on legal hold, those kinds of things. So Stacy, can you move the slide forward? Thank you. So if you think about the high level market drivers here, you know, 60 billion emails created every day, you know, huge fines sometimes for not being able to produce emails. 90% of court cases, emails are involved as evidence in over 90% of court cases. And, you know, this is just one of the drivers when you think about litigation. The other drivers out there would be compliance, things like the new and ever increasing amount of laws around protection of personal information, right? You hear about it in Europe, GDPR. That type of legal protection is spreading around. The state of California is starting to pass laws around being individuals having their personal information protected. A lot of that personal information is in emails, and companies need to be able to produce those emails and be able to sometimes even dispose of them to show that they're abiding by those laws. So there's a lot of high-level market drivers out there. Litigation obviously is one of them. Can you advance the slide, please, Stacy? So if you think about taking an email and making it quote unquote a corporate record, what does that really mean? So the first thing we would do is take that email and apply a policy, right? So and the emails, we take a copy of every email. We use a process called journaling, which is a natural process that resides within either Exchange on-prem or Office 365. And basically, we just take a copy of every email. Now, we can filter some of those out if you don't want every email. So, for example, system emails that show or that relay, messages about data center operations or something like that, you might not want to capture. But that ability to filter is, is strictly up to the end user, obviously. So we're going to take an email. Oh, back, please, Stacy. We're going to take an email. We're going to apply a policy, right, on a retention policy, and the retention policies can be very granular. They can be by the domain. They can be by a group user. So you can actually place different retention policies on different types of email based on the need. We're going to do a full text index of that message. So we're going to take it. We're going to pull out the keywords. We're going to index those. So later on, we can do very, very granular searches for the email, for the content that's in that email. We're going to encrypt it. So as it sits in our archive, right, it'll be fully encrypted. We're going to do some compression and some single instance storage. So if someone sends, for example, an email out to 50 people and it has a spreadsheet attached to it, we're going to keep one copy of the spreadsheet and create pointers in those other emails. So from an overall data reduction perspective, our customers can see sometimes 45 to 50% reduction in the amount of disk space it's going to take to archive that email versus the production side. So we bring some economies there, right? And then at the end, we create protected access via a hierarchy security model, and I'll show that in a minute. So if you look down here, okay, sorry, Stacy. So if you look at the bottom, those are basically just the drivers that drive the need for the solution. We talked about legal readiness, things like corporate governance, compliance, things like email storage or email management, decreasing the cost to store those, and obviously giving employees or users access to their own content in that archive. Okay, Stacy, thank you. You can forward it now. Okay, so the way that this solution is deployed, we can use an on-premise email server such as Exchange or a cloud-based or SaaS-based email solution. So Microsoft, Office 365. We can also protect things like Google Mail, IBM Domino, or virtually any mail system that has the ability to journal email to our archive. If you look in the middle pane there, how is this product installed? So it's a very small footprint. It can run on a server on-prem. So if a customer wants to have the archive solution on their prem, they can certainly do that. We can also house that in our private cloud, the ArcServe cloud, or it can also be deployed in Microsoft Azure, the public cloud solution, or Amazon AWS, right? And it'll actually run in Google Cloud as well. So any of those public cloud providers and the ArcServe private cloud. And if you look at the panel to the right there where it says access, there's a tiered security structure here that allows for auditable access to these emails, right? So if you look at The manager tiers at the top, those are the individuals that manage the solution itself and manage the email domains within there. And obviously we can manage multiple email domains with one instance of the product. So if you're a company or institution and you have multiple email domains, you can manage them all through a single solution, a single interface. And down below we have auditor or compliance officer access. That's the individual that has the ability to search all the email that's in the archive, right? So they're the ones that are going to go out there, do some searches based on whatever criteria they need. It might be criteria from a compliance audit, it might be criteria from some sort of legal action, but they're going to be able to go out, search that email, find a search set, they can tag it, they can add notes, they can do all those things, right? Now the employees or the users, they'll have the ability to have the same powerful search tools, except they're only going to be able to look at and find their own content. So you might have emails that reach a certain retention policy on the actual email system. So maybe 365, maybe you only keep 1 year or 2 years of email in 365, but you have to keep 5 or 6 or 7 years of email for legal or compliance reasons. You might keep that email in the archive. So users would have the ability to search email that maybe doesn't or no longer exists in the email solution, but resides in the archive. And they can search that two ways. They can use the same type of search tools that the compliance officer uses through a web-based interface, or we actually have an Outlook plugin that can be loaded into Outlook, and the user can run a search in that pop-up and restore the email right back into their Outlook mailbox, right? Next slide, Stacy. Time for a demo. So let's take a look at the solution. I'm going to need access to my screen. I need to be made the presenter here.
Yeah, hang on, Mark, right?
No worries.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep, you got it, Mark.
Okay, great. So hopefully everyone can see my screen. It's a browser.
Yep.
Excellent. Okay, so if you look at the solution, it's just managed through a simple browser-based interface, a web page, as you will. Right now, I'm just using Chrome, the most recent version of Chrome. So I can go out and, like I said, there's multiple levels of management here. So those levels would see different things, right? Since we're, for time purposes, I could show you the management interface. It's pretty straightforward. It basically just shows the email domains that are out there, how much storage is being used. It's what a system admin type of person would see around the solution. But let's go take a look at what a compliance officer would see, or a privacy officer. You can name them whatever you want. It could be an auditor, compliance officer, privacy officer. I'm going to log in as that individual here. Now, if you look at the basically a search screen, and these are some search or some email messages that are out there. If I actually click on the email message, you'll see the contents show up below, down here in the body of the email. So basically I'm seeing exactly what was in that email. I can see the email header, I can see the information in the email below. And even though we take this and we full text index it, we do all these things, we maintain the formatting of the email. So this email will display exactly as it displays in someone's email box, right? Here's the search pane up here. Now, I could put in a really basic email search criteria, just kind of a keyword, but typically you're going to go to the advanced search. And once I go to advanced search, I can search from email from a certain individual to a certain individual. I can search for keywords in the subject line, and I can use star type wildcards for any of these types of searches. I can look in the body of the message, so I actually search for words that might exist, down here in the body. And I can use a Boolean search string, I can use keywords, I can use wildcards, it doesn't really matter. Now again, I mentioned before that you can tag messages. So let's say that I'm a privacy officer or a compliance officer, I'm looking for certain email that matches a criteria. I go out and do this search here, I find some emails, I can actually apply a tag to those emails. and save them as a tag set, I can actually go back and search those tags, right? So I can actually pick a tag out of here and go out and find all the emails that match that tag criteria as well. I can also add notes to email. So I can take a group of emails or even a single email and add a note to it right here, right? I can also search by a date range, from a date from or a to, right? I can search by attachment. So keep in mind that we also full text index the attachment, whether it be a Word document or maybe an Excel spreadsheet. We're going to tag the words in there. So, or even a PDF, because we do a index a PDF as well. So I can actually go out and search for the keywords or whatever within the attachment as well, which is pretty interesting. This right here is to specify search results by random selection. So for example, some of our customers in the financial industry, they have to search a certain amount of emails, maybe 10% or something like that. You can put a random percentage in there, it'll go out and do a random search, right? So once I find the emails, I can go out here and I can take emails. I might have one, I might have 100, and I can download those emails. So for, let's say we need to be able to export some emails out of the archive for litigation purposes or even compliance purposes. I can go out and pick all the emails and I can download them out as a selected individual email or as a set. And basically we're going to export them out as EMLs, which is a very, very generic email format. We're going to keep the formatting as well. So you'll be able to take that EML file and pull it into Exchange. You could probably pull it into Google if you want, it doesn't matter, but all the information is going to be there, the formatting is going to be there. So if you pulled that back up in Exchange or whatever, or put it in a PST file, it would look exactly the same as it was when we pulled it down. Okay. So it's a very, very powerful tool. Everything that happens within here is also logged in an audit log, which a lot of times for access purposes, you're going to want to be able to, you might have to produce an audit log to show who had access to these emails, how they were accessed, when they were accessed. Everything that happens within the interface is auditable within this log, and you can dump the log out based on time and date stamp, however you want to do. You could dump the whole thing out if you wanted to. The other thing we could do, I forgot to mention, is when we create a search, if we're going to have to go back and do that search again, so let's say I have some very, very specific criteria. I have a to and from email. I have a date range I have to look for, because typically, whether it's compliance or litigation, a lot of times the criteria that you're searching on is pretty specific, right? So I'm going to look for email from an individual to an individual between some certain dates with certain keywords in the body. I can actually save that search, and if I want to run that search again in the future on a different set of emails, I can always go back and do that. Okay. The other thing I can do is keep track of all my tags, right? So these are the tags that I've created and the emails that are within those tags. Okay. So if I click on a tag, it shows me all the emails that have been saved to that tag. And then references is just all my legal holds that are out there, my tags, and my notes. So keep in mind that anything that you do, you can put on legal hold. You can put a search set, you can put a user, we can put those on legal hold. Now, legal hold supersedes any retention that may exist on that individual or that group of email or that domain, right? So once you put something on legal hold, it's on legal hold indefinitely until it's taken off of legal hold. So every day, an archive solution, every day we go through and we do a retention disposition, right? We look at all the emails that match a certain retention policy that ends on that day, and we dispose of those unless they're on legal hold. The only exception to that is because of GDPR and some of those things around personal information, we have the ability to remove certain types of emails from the archive. Now, obviously the compliance officer would do that based on personal information law. So let's say that a certain individual has requested that their personal information be removed from emails in the archive. You can actually go out and do a search. you can find those emails, you can put them on a 48-hour retention, and in 2 days they'll be removed from there, and you will have complied with rules around protecting and safeguarding personal information. Okay, so think of this as taking kind of email protection to that next step, right? You're able to protect the entire email store and all the messages and mailboxes and all those things with UDP, obviously. And this is taking that next step further to help you meet certain types of requirements around compliance, litigation, GDPR or private information, those types of things. Back to you, Stacy. Are we doing question and answer? I'm sorry, are we doing Q&A now?
Absolutely, Mark. We're going to do some question and answer. Well, great job, Stacy and Mark. And just a quick question for you, Mark. So if an individual diocese wanted to set this up, they could be the super admin, and then they can delegate admin responsibilities to other individuals in the diocese, correct?
Correct. So, I mean, one of the kind of the cardinal rules around information security is that typically the admins for systems, and this is typical with email too, the admin doesn't necessarily have access to all the content below, and that's why we create a very tiered, structured security model, right? So typically the admins would be the ones who set up the domains and go out and import users and do all those things around the administration of the solution, but the actual information itself is only accessible to those compliance individuals or auditors or whatever, and those are set up, those roles are set up by the admin for each email domain. And sometimes, in a smaller environment, some of these might cross over or combine. So the super admin, the admin may be the same individual, and then your compliance or privacy person or auditor would be a different individual under that.
Right. All right. Then we turn it over to Alex Ivanoff now. Alex, are you there with us?
Yes, I am. Thanks, John. Great job, Mark and Stacy and Sam, for getting this kicked off. Hopefully, we're going to get all your questions answered. I wanted, as a reminder, just if you do have a question you want to ask verbally, just go ahead and unmute yourself and go ahead and ask your question. I did get a couple through email or through chat. So we want to kind of just go over some of those in the meantime, unless somebody has a question verbally right now.
This is Sam. Real quickly, guys. How do you deal with any kind of test or trial if a client wanted to test something? Is that an option? Like an eval?
A trial copy of the software?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Alex.
Yeah, absolutely. Our solutions are both available. So both Office 365 and email archiving are available as trials. So what I would recommend, Sam, is that if you do have somebody that does want to do that, they could either go through you and then you would let us know that they want to do a trial, or they can go to arcserve.com and download a trial from there, whatever is easiest for them. And take it from there.
And if they'd like to do it cloud-based, we can certainly set up a proof of concept with one of the guys on my team and prove it out for them from a cloud-based solution. So.
Okay, good. Because I know I know my Orlando friends are on the phone call up the road there in Orlando, and I believe that they've talked about trying to look at something. So perhaps we can get them to trial it. Excellent.
So before we get into the Q&A, I just kind of want to give a little heads up as to ArcServe as a company. I don't know how many folks have heard of us, but we've been recently tagged as the most experienced backup vendor in the industry. We've been at this for over 35 years, protecting folks' data back in the days of Novell, and made our core competency up in tape backups. But obviously, as you can see with all this technology that Stacy and Mark have shown you today, we've come a long way. And while tape is still something that we do support, we do realize that we have to keep up with the times. So hopefully that's apparent in today's presentation. So one of the questions I had is, can UDP be used as a backup process other than Office 365? And I don't know, Stacy, if you wanted to go ahead and take that one.
Can UDP be used as a backup process? Was that the question? I'm sorry.
Well, so outside of Office 365, could UDP be used to, I guess, back up the rest of the organization's information?
Oh, absolutely. So UDP in and of itself is an image-based backup solution to back up, physical systems, virtual systems, and even hyper-converged environments like Nutanix, right? Being able to provide that. And when it comes to email, being able to back up on-prem Exchange or Exchange online, SharePoint on-prem, SharePoint online, all of those are capabilities. One of the things that we do very well is the way that we handle that data. So not only are we backing it up in a way that is going to take less space with deduplication, but that deduplication begins at the client, so at the source side. So we're also going to use less bandwidth as part of that process as well, whether or not we're talking about replicating the data, across the network to the backup device or replicating it up to the cloud too.
Mark, with regards to like recovering emails and such like that, I mean, what would a client want to use, archiving or Office 365 backup? If they want to recover an email, what would be the best method?
Recover a single, probably Office 365 backup with UDP. I like to kind of differentiate between the two. I mean, obviously you can recover a user themselves can recover an individual email using archiving, and that's probably the best way to do that. It's the best way to create some sort of self-service restore to get an email back from the archive into their email box.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're looking at protecting more than that, the email box, the folders, all that, then it would be UDP archiving, or excuse me, UDP backup. I'm sorry. Backup,
yeah. So as a sales rep, I like to educate my clients into the notion that archiving is not backup, backup is not archiving. They both have individual root type of skill sets where they're known to affect the recovery of a data set. I think for longer term retention and such, the archiving certainly is going to play into that. And I think somebody showed a slide earlier where we could actually reduce your data footprint, so lowering your storage costs and things like that within the Exchange environment, just by utilizing these solutions overall. But yeah, typically, you don't want one without the other, although I will say the caveat that you can use these products independently. And that's an interesting point to make as well, because let's just say you're 100% okay with the way you're doing Office 365 today, but archiving is a concern for you. Okay, then let's go down the archiving route. Let's just say archiving isn't much of an issue for you, but yet you want to do a longer retention in Office 365. Okay, we can go that route with you too. So the nice thing about our archive or the ArcServe solutions is that you can kind of pick and choose what fits your model best and what sort of compliance you're trying to meet. So one of the questions I got is how is this licensed? And I'll go ahead and take that one myself. So of all the models that we showed here today, it's all based on capacity. So the nice thing about that, and kind of a differentiator in our market here, is that a lot of people like to charge by seat, right? So they sit there, you'll say, all right, you have 100 employees, a mailbox for each employee, and we're going to go ahead and sell you 100 mailboxes to protect. Now, if that person leaves, you're still paying for that seat, right? And then for compliance reasons, if you want to retain that email for a longer period of time, you're going to keep paying for that user, even though they're not currently part of your organization. By doing it by storage size, in essence, we take the amount of storage that you're protecting in Office 365. So we look at the mail store, we look at the data size, and we say, here's however many licenses you need to protect that data set. And that's it. It's as simple as it gets. And there's no counting of seeds, heads. You have the total flexibility of being able to bring that number up, bring that number down, whatever the case may be. For the on-prem types of solutions, we do actually have some other ways of going about it, where we have actually some purposeful appliances where we could send into your organization, you hook it into your network, and within 15 minutes, you're actually protecting and backing up not only local on-prem type of data and emails, if that's what you have as far as Exchange goes, but also Office 365. So we can actually bring that Office 365 back down to your location, if you wanted to have that as your first line of defense, and as well as actually pulling it from the cloud in general. But again, a lot of that is based off of storage sizes. Any questions so far? Any other questions that we have in addition to ones that were asked already? Please unmute your phone if you do.
We are good here.
I don't have any other questions right now.
Question, Alex. A question for you if people are looking for disaster recovery, what options and maybe moving data, migrating data are available as well?
That's for me, John?
Yeah, I figure so the folks know about some disaster recovery options available through data integrity through ArcServe as well.
Yeah. Great question. So yeah, we do have some options built in within UDP itself, John, that allows the clients to be able to, let's say, stand up a server on a moment's notice. We have a technology called Instant Virtual Machine, which would allow any copy of a server that you're protecting locally to be able to be, in essence, fired up. It could be fired up either on the appliance that I just mentioned or a server of their choosing within, say, a virtual environment, whether it be Hyper-V, VMware. We support both equally. The nice thing about our DR solutions too, John, is that they do protect physical environments as efficiently and effectively as we do virtual environments. So you could potentially have a physical box. Let's say you have a physical Exchange server that you're protecting on a regular basis, and you want to be able to maybe virtualize that. We can actually help with that. We could take our Instant Virtual Machine, fire that physical box up into a virtual environment, and maybe like do a vMotion or something like that through VMware into a virtual infrastructure. So that's I would say is the first line of defense. The other one is really all about us having the capability of in our private cloud to be able to stand up machines, something we call disaster recovery as a service, where we actually are able to take a machine very similar to the on-prem that I just described and actually fire that up in our cloud instance. So let's just say you don't want to bring all your data back down, but you still want to have that capability of being able to have access to that information and those systems more readily. That can be done in the cloud as well. So depending on what the needs of the client are certainly ways that we can turn around and do that. Now, the last one I would say, and probably the best way that we can do DR as a service, us being here in Florida, we certainly know, when a named storm is heading in our direction that we need to take measures, and hopefully we have them in place already. But we are able to do real-time replication of our systems where we could take the data real-time, replicate it to another location, maybe another partner location or an organizational location, have a real-time copy of that data sitting there, and do a failover of that system to, let's say, I don't know, if you're replicating from Orlando to California, and then have that system stood up in California, users are continuing to work, emails not disrupted, and when the danger passes, we're able to then replicate back any changes that happen, and then bring that system back online locally. Did that answer your question there, John?
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Alex. Thank you, Stacy, and thank you very much, Mark. Sam, we're going to turn it back over to you.
Excellent, my friends. Real quickly, in closing up, everything's been recorded. There's a couple of dioceses that were unable to join. I'll be reaching out to them to talk with them and bring them up to speed on everything. But in the meantime, thanks a bunch for my friends at ArcServe, to the folks that are on the line from the diocese. We did do data integrity, as you know. You guys all know us. We've been around for a while with the diocesan world of folks. You know how we work, and we're very cautious about what we recommend to the diocese vertical. So with that being said, we will pass along very stout discounts to our diocese friends. If you want to test drive anything, as they indicated earlier, we can definitely get you an eval going, proof of concept. And again, the pricing has been the pricing that I've seen so far is very, very good. And of course, we'll add the diocese discounts on top of that. So with that being said, we'll reach out to everybody afterwards later on this week, say hello, what you think about everything. So with that being said, thank you very much for the ArcServe folks that are on the line. And for my diocese friends, thanks a bunch. We'll look forward to seeing you guys at 2020 DISC 2020. There's going to be a day before pre-event, I think, security conference, focused security conference that we're going to be part of, actually hosting. So keep that little tidbit set back, and we hope to see you there. Thanks a bunch, everybody, and have a great day and a great week. Thanks. Bye.